I think our defense was disruptive. We made them take tough shots, and offensively, we were able to get the ball moving. We were able to, play on both sides of the floor, get some higher percent.
What's worse, heading into a crucial playoff game, starting without 6 key players, or watching the referees completely tilt the floor against you when everything is on the line? That was the harsh reality the Indiana Fever faced against the Atlanta Dream in Game 1. And you could literally feel the frustration boiling over. Head coach Stephanie White had finally seen enough and absolutely went off, even picking up a technical foul for saying what every single Fever fan was already screaming at their screens. This wasn't just a game. It was a battle against injuries, adversity, and some downright questionable officiating. The Fever were already hanging by a thread, held together by sheer willpower and grit, yet still had to fight through chaos that felt far too extreme to just be called bad luck. Was this simply unfortunate timing, or something that felt a whole lot closer to sabotage? Fans are furious, players are livid, and the entire league is buzzing, wondering if Indiana got flat out robbed in the biggest moment of their season. Before the opening tip, the Fever's situation was a nightmare come to life. Imagine walking into the playoffs knowing half your rotation wouldn't even be able to suit up. Caitlin Clark, done for the season with a groin injury. Chloe Bibby, out with a knee issue. Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson, both sidelined with knee problems of their own. Ari McDonald, gone with a foot injury. And if that wasn't devastating enough, less than 24 hours before tip-off, Dearest Dantas was suddenly ruled out due to concussion protocol. 6 key players completely stripped away before the series even began. Yet somehow, the Fever were expected to take the court against an Atlanta Dream team that was fully healthy, fully loaded, and ready to dominate. To make matters even more emotional, some of the injured Fever players, including Clark and Bibby, were there on the sidelines, separated from the bench, watching helplessly as their team battled through impossible odds. For this group, just seeing their teammates in the building was powerful. But make no mistake, this was a team forced to fight with their backs against the wall, dealing with injuries, questionable calls, and a sense that the deck wasn't just stacked, it was rigged. Yeah, I was beyond excited. Just looking at the injured squad alone, there's so much experience and knowledge there for us. Having them present is huge because they see the game from a completely different perspective than those of us on the floor. When you're playing, your vision is limited to the moment, but when they're watching, they can pick up on things we might miss. Being able to listen to them, hear their insights, and apply that in real time is incredibly valuable. I was super happy to have them there with us. But seriously, how is this fair to the players or the fans? Indiana fought through this exact kind of punishment all season long just to claw their way into the 6th seed. Night after night, game after game, they battled adversity, scraping together lineups that felt like solving a puzzle where half the pieces were missing. And after months of grinding and fighting to earn their spot, instead of being rewarded with a clean slate for the playoffs, they rolled into Atlanta with more names on the inactive list than some teams even have on their bench. The injured players hadn't been able to travel for most of the season, but now finally, they were all there, and their presence meant everything. We missed them on the court every single day, so to have them on this trip was a massive boost. Usually, there are empty seats on the team plane, but this time, every single one was taken. That alone said a lot. Their energy, their voices, their leadership, all of it matters. They're vocal, they're uplifting, and they bring a spark, even while sidelined. The only problem? The bench isn't even long enough to fit everyone anymore. It's been so packed lately that figuring out where to put everyone has become a whole new challenge. But it's the kind of problem you love to have because it shows how united this team truly is. And speaking of that bench, the scene was unreal. The Fever decided to bring everyone, all 16 players, healthy or not, and it was a powerful display of unity. But at the same time, it really drove home how absurd their situation had become. There weren't even enough seats. The main row filled up immediately, forcing players in street clothes to sit behind the actual bench like they were stuck waiting in a boarding area at the airport. You know you've officially hit the injury lottery when you can't even fit your whole team along the sideline. From a medical standpoint, this was the first time they'd all been cleared to travel. And that in itself gave the team an emotional lift. Having their voices in the huddles, especially 3-point guards with sharp eyes on the game, was huge. They could pull players aside during dead balls, give advice, and help steady the team when things got rough. That perspective was invaluable, like having extra coaches sitting right there, ready to help at a moment's notice. This is where context really matters. Other playoff teams get to bring solid second units, reliable players they can rotate in when stars need a rest or run into foul trouble. Indiana didn't have that luxury. They were relying on whoever was left standing, filling gaps with sheer willpower, grit, and a little bit of prayer. And yet, even under those brutal circumstances, this team made the postseason for the second year in a row. That alone speaks to their relentless resilience. Sophie Cunningham probably summed it up best, even if she didn't mean to. Stuck in rehab for her knee injury, she joked that at this point she's practically part of the medical staff. It was a lighthearted comment, but it perfectly captured the reality of Indiana's season. A starter turned cheerleader, cracking jokes to keep morale high. Even though deep down she knows she should be out there on the court hitting shots and making plays. It was humor born out of hardship, and it said everything about what this team has been through. That's the Fever in a nutshell. Finding ways to smile through the pain and fight through impossible circumstances. And the wildest part, even with half their roster in street clothes, those injuries didn't stop Indiana from coming out swinging in Game 1. They caught Atlanta completely off guard, storming out of the gate and building an early lead like they were too stubborn to acknowledge the mountains stacked against them. But of course, it couldn't stay that simple. Just when the Fever proved they could compete despite everything, the referees decided to take over and completely shift the direction of the game. What the officials did was infuriating. And honestly, it's no wonder Stephanie White snapped and picked up a technical foul. Any coach would have. Imagine watching your team fight through an entire season of brutal injuries, working tirelessly to reach the playoffs, only to see it undermined by inconsistent, biased officiating. These referees weren't just making mistakes. They were influencing the game's outcome. Every playoff game has momentum swings, but nothing kills momentum faster than a whistle that doesn't make sense. Indiana entered Atlanta already carrying the weight of 6 missing players, yet they still threw the first punch. They jumped out to a 15-6 lead, with Kelsey Mitchell lighting it up early and Aaliyah Boston dominating the glass while locking down the paint. The Fever were locked in, fearless, and playing with heart. For a moment, it felt like the impossible was about to happen. A broken, battered team toppling a fully healthy dream squad. And then, the officiating began to drain the life out of the game. Ryan Howard simply falls down, and somehow it's a foul. Absolutely ridiculous. Clean defensive stops that should have turned into fast breaks instead became free throws for Atlanta. Mitchell and others fought through screens, hustled to stay in position, only for the play to be blown dead with phantom calls. It wasn't just one bad whistle, it was a pattern over and over, killing Indiana's rhythm and momentum. The Fever lost both of their challenges before halftime because of how bad the calls were. Early in the game, Lexi Hull was whistled for a foul on Ryan Howard while playing perfect defense. Coach Stephanie White challenged it, and the replay confirmed what everyone watching already knew. Hull never touched her. No foul. Yet White had to burn a challenge just to protect her player. Later, Brianna Turner took an elbow to the face. And instead of calling it correctly, the referees somehow called a foul on Turner. White had no choice but to challenge again and won. But now both of her lifelines were gone before the second quarter even ended. And it didn't stop there. Boston took an elbow from Brittany Griner. No whistle. Meanwhile, a light tap from Kelsey Mitchell was instantly called a foul. The difference was glaring. Atlanta's physical play was completely unchecked, while Indiana couldn't so much as breathe on an opponent without hearing a whistle. That kind of lopsided officiating doesn't just impact the scoreboard, it crushes confidence and shatters focus. Every possession became a gamble, every defensive effort a risk. Lexi Hull was literally thrown out of bounds with no call. Seconds later, she was tagged with another foul for simply going after the ball. Her reaction said it all. Pure disbelief. Single word. Wow. By the fourth quarter, frustration reached its breaking point. Stephanie White finally erupted after a sequence where Ryan Howard blatantly grabbed Shea Petty with no call. White voiced what every Fever fan was screaming from their seats and their living rooms, and for daring to speak the truth. The officials slapped her with a technical foul. The final insult on a night where Indiana wasn't just battling Atlanta. They were battling the referees too. Lexi was asked about the physicality of the game, and her response was direct and clear. "We knew coming in, it's the playoffs, it's going to be physical," she said. "This team is naturally physical. So for us, it's about learning how to respond to that and keep playing our game. We have to watch the film, figure out how to handle that better, and not let the referees dictate how that physicality impacts us. It's something we need to grow from because that's playoff basketball. That's what this series is going to demand, and we've got to get better at it moving forward." But the reality was brutal. Odyssey Sims dove for a loose ball in a play that should have been praised as pure hustle instead. The whistle blew, and she was punished for it. The arena erupted in chaos. The Fever bench looked stunned and deflated. In a surreal moment, Caitlin Clark, sidelined with injury, had to step in and calm head coach Stephanie White, who looked ready to completely lose it on the officials. The image was striking. The star player unable to suit up, holding back her own coach as the game spiraled. Atlanta fed off that storm. The Dream turned the chaos into a devastating third-quarter run, stretching their lead and making it a mountain the Fever couldn't climb. After the final buzzer, the headlines weren't about how Indiana's stars played, they were about the officiating. Fans were left asking the hard question: did the Fever get beaten by the Dream or by the referees? Despite everything, Indiana never stopped fighting, and that matters. Even when the calls were blatantly inconsistent, they refused to roll over. Time after time, the same sequence played out. A foul called against the Fever for a clean defensive play. Then no whistle at all when Atlanta did the exact same thing. Indiana players were hit in midair with no call, while the Dream were gifted free throws for minimal contact. The double standard was glaring. What were the Fever supposed to do? Just roll out a red carpet and let Atlanta walk to the rim uncontested? With so much stacked against them, how do you even measure success? By the final score or by pride in how fiercely you fought? That was the dilemma Indiana faced in Game 1. On paper, they were outmatched. But on the court, they refused to quit. Leading that charge, as always, was Kelsey Mitchell. She was nothing short of spectacular, dropping 27 points, a playoff career high, while shooting nearly 50% from the field and converting almost every free throw she earned. Every time Indiana's offense stalled, Mitchell willed it back to life. She wasn't just scoring. She added 4 assists and even came up with a block, doing everything in her power to keep the Fever within striking distance. But no matter how brilliant Mitchell was, Caitlin Clark's absence was impossible to ignore. Without her, Indiana lost its most dangerous weapon, the ability to stretch defenses far beyond the arc. Clark forces opponents to guard 25 feet from the basket, opening space for everyone else. Without that threat, Atlanta packed the paint, clogged driving lanes, and dared Indiana's secondary players to shoot from deep. That lack of spacing turned life into a nightmare for Aaliyah Boston, battling constant double teams and a swarm of bodies. She still fought her way to 12 hard-earned rebounds, even while juggling foul trouble and constant contact. Scoring opportunities were scarce. She finished with 8 points, but her rebounding and toughness kept Indiana competitive far longer than expected. Lexi Hull gave absolutely everything she had. Her 9 points might not pop off the stat sheet, but every bucket was crucial. She buried one of Indiana's few three-pointers on a night when the rim felt merciless. She hustled for loose balls, chased Atlanta's shooters through screens, and brought relentless energy. Even when her shot wasn't falling, Hull found ways to make an impact that went beyond numbers. Meanwhile, Atlanta rotated fresh bodies every quarter. Alicia Gray and Ryan Howard both scored 20. Naz Hillman added 16. And Brittany Griner's presence in the paint demanded extra defenders, creating open looks for her teammates. The contrast was stark. Atlanta had depth and options. Indiana had stars fighting to simply stay upright as the minutes wore on. The numbers told part of the story. Indiana shot under 35% from the field, and when Atlanta controlled the boards on missed shots, the gap began to grow. But the most impressive takeaway wasn't in the box score, it was the fight Indiana showed. Even with everything against them, injuries, whistles, and a hostile road crowd, they played until the very last second. They didn't fold and they didn't give up. The series wasn't lost that night. It simply shifted locations, and now it moves to Indianapolis, where the Fever will have another chance to flip the script. Game 2 marks a historic moment for the Indiana Fever, their first home playoff game since Chains Clays. That fact alone fuels belief that their fight is far from over. This game isn't about whether Indiana has enough stars left standing. It's about whether the home crowd can deliver the kind of raw energy that transforms. A season hanging by a thread into a statement of resilience. Gainbridge Fieldhouse isn't just hosting a game. It's hosting a war for survival, and the Fever need every voice, every cheer. Every ounce of passion from the fans to push them over the line. We're competing against everyone. We're in every single game. One Fever leader said with determination, "When we've fallen short, it's been because of things we can control. Now it's about tightening up, staying locked in, and putting together a full 40 minutes. If we do that, we know we can beat anybody in this league." The regular season is over. Our record, who we beat, who we didn't, none of that matters now. It's all about Atlanta. It's about this game, and we're ready for the fight. Think about it, the Fever haven't hosted playoff basketball in nearly a decade. Now, after a season marked by brutal injuries and constant adversity, they return to their home court with everything on the line. For the fans, this isn't just another night in the arena. It's a chance to send a message to the entire league. Playoff basketball in Indiana still matters. And Gainbridge can still roar with unshakable pride. That building will be electric, and the hunger will be undeniable. Last year, fans were robbed of the chance to feel this energy. Watching the Pacers in the postseason only fueled their desire to show up for the Fever. Now, they finally get that opportunity. Gainbridge will be loud, wild, and relentless. This new playoff format gives Indiana something to fight for. And everyone, players, coaches, and fans, knows how important it is to seize this moment. But here's the harsh reality. The Fever are still down 6 key players. Caitlin Clark remains sidelined. Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson, Ari McDonald, and Chloe Bai are all still unavailable. Darius Dantis remains out under concussion protocol, with her status uncertain for the game. This means Indiana enters Game 2 with the same limited depth that cost them Game 1. Atlanta knows exactly how to exploit this. In Game 1, they swarmed the paint, disrupted spacing, and forced Indiana into rushed, low-percentage shots. The Fever went just to 415 from three-point range, a number that simply won't cut it. Head coach Stephanie White made it clear, the offense must move faster. The passing must be sharper, and there can be 0 wasted possessions. Against Atlanta's size and length, precision isn't optional, it's survival. The burden on Kelsey Mitchell is enormous. She proved her ability with 27 points in Game 1, but she can't do it alone. If no other scorer steps up, Atlanta will double Mitchell and suffocate her driving lanes all over again. Boston will battle in the paint. Hall will fight for every loose ball. But someone, whether it's Turner, Howard, or Hartley, must rise as a reliable second option. That's where the crowd comes in. 17,000 fans can't physically guard Ryan Howard or box out Brittany Griner, but they can make every Indiana run feel unstoppable. Every defensive stand hit harder, and every Atlanta possession a little more nerve-wracking. The Fever need Gainbridge to be a weapon to make Atlanta feel the weight of every mistake and the heat of every cheer. This isn't just about staying alive in the series. It's about proving that this franchise, despite being battered and bruised, can take a heavy punch and still swing back. This game will define how the Fever's playoff run is remembered. Win, and they send a message of resilience and fight. Lose, and the season ends in heartbreak, with questions that will linger all offseason. Mitchell summed up the stakes perfectly. Being back at home gives us a sense of comfort, but we can't take it for granted. We have to use it. Take the necessary steps to be at our best and fight like our season depends on it, because it does. The Fever have endured everything this year. Devastating injuries, crushing calls, and endless doubt. And yet, here they are, preparing to battle again. Game 2 isn't just another playoff game. It's a statement, a chance to flip the narrative and ignite belief. Now the question remains, will the home crowd's energy be enough to keep the Fever season alive? Or will Atlanta silence Gamebridge and end Indiana's dream? Were the Fever robbed by the refs in Game 1? Let us know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss a moment. This is the fight of the season, and it all comes down to this game.